All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Downloadable Content. We are SJ.
And Alex Herschel. Today, we're going to talk about Hollow Knight.
Let's get right into it. Herschel. How are you, Alex?
I'm all right. How are you?
Pretty good. Like I was telling you, we're planning for our trip to Japan.
And when is that again?
We are leaving, let's see, during the first week of November.
First week of November.
Yeah, it's like the 6th or the 7th, I think we fly out.
Okay. And how long are you going to be there?
We'll be there until the day before Thanksgiving.
Dang. Nice long trip.
We're going all out. So yeah, we're gonna go to Universal Studios Japan.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be our first destination. We'll spend a couple of days there. I will be sure to take many pictures and videos of Nintendo World for our audience here. Yeah, we're excited. We are excited, and then we're still kind of planning out the latter parts of our trip. I think we're going to do a little sightseeing with one of my childhood friends over there. He can drive us around a bit. And then see some family, of course, and it'll be good. So that's the main thing that's been occupying my time for the last few days. But the other thing that's been occupying my time is Jedi Survivor.
Really?
And man, I unlocked this new hairstyle, and it looks like your hair. I'm actually playing as Alex Herschel, and I love it.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice. No, I'm glad to hear
sick.
that you're loving it. Yeah. No. So you know how we talked about how what we had kind of been experiencing with it so far was that like we enjoyed playing it, but there just wasn't the push to go back afterwards. So I can't remember.
And I can speak to that a little bit.
I can't remember the last time I picked it up, but it was recently, and I played and went through one of the puzzle dungeons, right, where you're using the Force and doing different things and stuff.
Yep.
And it was great, right? I had a great time. Played it for like 45 minutes to an hour. Did it. And then, it was time to go to bed, so I turned it off. And haven't picked it up again since. So it's still the same thing where I just, for whatever reason, it doesn't have its hooks in me the way that I expect it would have.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't remember whether I brought this up in our last episode, but I discussed this with Zach. He's been on our podcast before. He said, "Trust me, bro, it gets better. Like, it's a slow start. The first quarter maybe of the game-ish is like it's slow to get started because you don't have that sense of urgency in terms of the story and what's happening that you did in the first game. I think that's really the core issue. So that's probably going to be my main criticism of the game is like the pacing is like it's a little lopsided in favor of like the latter parts of the game. It doesn't take you hours and hours to get there, but he was just like, trust me, bro, like it's just so good. Just keep playing. So I went back to it and I put in, I think it was after I put in like an additional 1 or 2 hours that like the story really started to pick up. And I'm totally hooked on it now. Like I've got that same draw that I had in the first game, and you have a lot of freedom in how you want Cal to fight, because you unlock these like new stances, right? And I'm sure you've seen that you have stances that you haven't unlocked yet, or have you unlocked all of them?
I'm missing the last one.
Okay. Okay.
But no, I've got a few.
Okay, cool. By the way, that last one is my favorite. I won't tell you what it is because I don't want to spoil anything. I don't know if you already know, but
no, I mean I know what they all are.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know what it was,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like a nice surprise to me. But Anyway, it's good. It's good. We will definitely talk more about that game at a later point. But
Yeah.
what have you been playing?
Well, because we're talking about Hollow Knight today, right? I finished Hollow Knight. Well, I should preface that because I know that Hollow Knight fans are very, very passionate about this. Where there's a bunch of different endings in that game, right? Where, depending on how much you've done outside of, the main story, or if you can call it that, all this stuff. But I played to a point in the game where I fought what the first round of the final boss is, and credits played. Okay, so I'm counting that as having beaten the game. And I looked into it, right, because I knew that there was other stuff coming up. And when we get into the review, I'll talk about why I'm stepping away from doing that right now. But because of that, I needed a new game. So I finally picked up Tales of Arise.
Let's go.
SJ very kindly gifted this to me nearly a year ago because a year ago. And I've been saying, I'll play it at this point, and there's always been something coming up. But like I finished Hollow Knight and I was on fall break last week, so I had some extra time. I was like, well, now's a great time to jump in, see if it's, the right fit for me. According to PlayStation, so PlayStation doesn't do this for every game, but like when you're like going into a game, it'll show you how many hours you've played, but it'll also show you like your percentage progress through the main story.
Oh, not just 100%ing, but through the main story?
Yeah, through the story specifically.
Oh, that's cool.
And it says I'm about a quarter of the way, so
okay,
that's cool. And when I had this memory come to my mind when I started to play it. But you said, like, I think this is what you wanted Xenoblade to be so badly. And after playing, a good chunk of the game so far, like, I do think you're right. Like, I do think this is what I was hoping that would end up becoming from, like, a gameplay perspective, where it is a lot more interactive and requires more from you as the player.
I was really hoping that wouldn't be, like, some famous last words, like...
No, so, when we get to it, right, I'm reserving other judgments just because I'm only, a quarter of the way through the game. But, no, I've been enjoying it so far, and it has been keeping me, like, if there's a day where I've got too much other stuff going on and I don't have time to play it, I do kind of feel like, dang, like, didn't get to play it today. You know? So,
all right.
It's keeping me engaged enough to, like, right now, like, there's nothing else where I'm like, oh, maybe I'll drop this and play something else instead. I envision continuing this for the foreseeable future unless something happens to make me hate the game. So we'll see what happens. But.
Okay. Without any spoilers or anything, what part of the story are you on right now?
So
maybe just so I get an idea of where you're at.
Yeah.
I guess it's hard without spoilers.
But. I have 4 party members.
Uh-huh.
And I just completed like the section of the game where you gain that 4th party member. So I went through the boss of that section and I'm on my way to making it to the next section to do what we need to do there.
All right.
And yeah.
Cool.
Nice open fields, lots of green.
Uh-huh.
So that's where we're at.
All right, man.
Yeah.
I was so excited when he told me that you started playing that.
Right. So something I can't remember if you brought it up, but like it opens up with like a full-on anime opening.
Yeah.
Like the first time you boot up the game, and every time you boot it up on PlayStation, at least it'll play it where it does the song and the 2D animation and everything, and I was like, oh dang! And then I got into it, and as it was going, I waited until there was kind of a shot that wouldn't like give away what was happening. I took a picture of it and sent it to SJ, and that was a good little text interaction. It was a good time. So
yeah,
that's what we got going on. But
all right, man.
No Discord questions today, but we do have a subtopic that we're going to talk about before we get into our game review for today.
Yeah, and I just wanted to bring this up because we have a lot of people in our Discord server. By the way, if you haven't joined, please join us. Their link is in the description. We'd love to have you there. We have a lot of members who play Pokemon TCG Pocket. And this is a pretty big announcement coming out from the TCG Pocket team. So I'll try to summarize this here without reading it all. But there are new features that are going to be implemented as a part of its very first anniversary. So historically, you could only trade with your friends rarity cards up to 1 diamond through 4 diamonds. As in the regular EX cards are the rarest things that you could trade. Anything with stars or beyond that, shinies, you cannot trade them at all, which has been crappy. But that is now being expanded so that you can trade all the cards we've been able to trade plus 1 star, 2 star, and shiny 1 and shiny 2 rarity cards, which is awesome. Hopefully, I would love it if one day we could trade all cards, but this is, I think, a pretty big step in the right direction. And also, we're now getting a new feature to trade up to 4 diamond rarity cards, just gifting them to friends. So you can just give cards to friends, which I think is a nice feature because sometimes one friend has a lot of cards because they spend a lot of time on it and you want to help a brother out. Now you can just gift stuff. We'll see how it actually works in practice, so we can't really speak on that, but this seems to be a good indication. Also in the Wonder Pick feature, cards from the latest expansion that you have not obtained will appear more often, so that's a plus. The number of cards you currently own will be displayed on each card in Wonder Pick, so you can tell not just whether you have that card or not, but how many you have. So just good. That's just good quality of life stuff, and hopefully help people get their collections together a little bit easier.
Yeah. I mean, I've kind of dropped off. I haven't really pulled consistently for quite a few expansions. I opened a few packs with the whatever they called it.
Yeah, the special, like the EX packs,
right,
the time limited one.
Those ones. I pulled a couple there. Yeah, I just haven't really pulled recently. But when I was, there were cases where, I had a coworker who was also really into it, and we would be going through and like trying to trade and stuff. But like, there was honestly a time he needed like a bunch of stuff because I had just played since like day one, right? Or as soon as you found out about it. I don't know how quickly
you
were on it. Like, so I was a couple of days after that, and he hadn't picked it up for like until the second expansion had already started. And so he was trying to go back through those genetic apex.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like very quickly, like he felt bad because he couldn't trade anything like a value to me that I didn't already have. So I like the idea that like, yeah, there's a way where if you've got extras, right, and you can only put, you don't need them, right? Especially for these lower rarity cards, you're not putting an insane amount of those in a deck. So
yeah, that's so true.
Just being able to actually use those for something and get like that community feeling out of it, I do think it's a good change. So glad to see it happen.
The one main problem I have with this latest expansion pack is, I don't know if you've heard about this, but it's been kind of controversial because I like what they're trying to do because it helps people catch up on like a lot of the EX cards that you kind of need to have decent competitive decks and stuff, and all in one package with a high pull rate for those EX cards, which is at least one on every single pack, which I think is awesome. But for collectors, it sucks because, so say I never got the very first original Charizard EX. If I pull that in this new pack, it'll show that I have it and I have that. But if I were to go to my collection and go to the very first pack, it won't show that you have it if you go to the first pack. So it only counts for this special pack. So it's just like, come on, it's the exact same card. Can we not count it for both of those to show that you've completed the pack? It just seems kind of petty.
Yeah, like I guess like I don't understand the point because like completing a pack, right? Like collecting everything in it, like it doesn't give you really anything, right? Like I guess you
No,
unlock
it's
like a
just
few
the
extra tokens so that
satisfaction
you
of
can
it.
get the icon,
Yeah.
like the character icon,
Right.
right? But like that's it, right? It doesn't have any battle. It doesn't. They don't give you any extra rewards that you would otherwise have to pay
Mm-hmm.
for. So like it does seem odd that they haven't they didn't have that in mind, you
Yeah.
know?
Why can't it just count?
And
Because
for something built around collecting, right? Like wouldn't you want to make it as enjoyable of a collecting
I
experience as
know. Because,
possible?
like, in real life, if there was something like this that came out, you would absolutely count that and say, oh, I've finally completed the genetic Apex pack because I now have the Charizard EX where I didn't before. But now it's just like, no, that's the Charizard EX pack for this special promotional pack, not for the original. So you still, if you want to see your collection completed, you're gonna have to go back and like pull those again. It's just petty and dumb. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight. So for those of us that are not super huge into kind of Metroidvania games, right? What's the gameplay loop like?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So you've got this huge sprawling map that you go through, and you know it is very much a Metroidvania, right? Where you don't always know where the path is leading to, and you're going to come across like the first section of the map that you begin in is called Forgotten Crossroads, and there are parts of it that you just can't fully navigate, right? Because you need other abilities that you unlock later, and then you can come back and do them, all this stuff. So I will say, like, I feel like a big reason that this game is so beloved is like the atmosphere, right? Where, and that's something that, like, in these types of games where you are doing that backtracking, you really have to nail is that feeling that you get just going through these rooms, because you're going to go through the same rooms lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of times. But you fight bugs that are corrupted under this disease, and you upgrade your stuff and you explore the world.
So are you yourself a bug
Yes.
too? Okay.
Well, great question. Without going in, so yes, but no.
Okay.
See, so
Is
I
it a
feel,
lore thing?
I feel kind of inadequate because there are aspects of the lore where, like, depending on your perspective, like, you could probably argue it both ways, and also for the sake of like story spoilers, like, I don't know what counts as a story spoiler and what doesn't, because like you can go through the game very, very quickly and not get any of the extra stuff. You can do what I did where you get some of it but not all of it, or you got the people that are like really, really into it and have these 4-hour long video essays on YouTube explaining like one fraction of the lore, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're a bug with a little cloak and a nice fun little mask and a little sword, and you just
Okay.
it's great.
Okay.
I don't feel like I'm selling it too well, because I feel like this is the type of game where, like, you could watch a gameplay trailer or you could watch, any trailer really, and you would know, like, from a gameplay perspective, if this is something that you would vibe with,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So,
Okay.
because it's a 2D melee fighting.
So I imagine you're going through a map, you're progressing, you probably come across some rooms and areas that you can't access, and then you later get the ability to access, and then you're like, oh, now I can open that up. So you're going back. So like that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's this thing of like, you're slowly unlocking new areas. Every now and then you come back and backtrack, but you don't have to backtrack if you just want to plow through the story.
Yeah, no, I can't think of any time where, like, the game specifically directed me to go back to an area that I had already visited. So, like, all that backtracking stuff is optional. I think it's helpful. It makes the game easier because of what you end up unlocking through doing that stuff, right? You can get upgraded abilities or, certain collectibles that then lead to you getting perks and stuff. So you have your combat, right? You have your sword and stuff, and you can upgrade your sword a couple times. But the main way that you really change the way that you play is through charms. So charms are different collectibles, And throughout the game, you can buy notches. And so each charm has a certain amount of notches that it takes up. So as you upgrade your notches, you can equip more charms.
Okay.
And there might be a boss where you need a charm that, gives you 2 extra masks, which are the hearts of this game, right? Or there might be one where, hey, this charm, if you get attacked, it does like an automatic counter attack. So for areas where you're fighting lots and lots of small enemies, that can be good because it can wipe out like a big bunch of them if they're becoming overwhelming and that kind of stuff. And a lot of that extra stuff, when you're doing the backtracking, unlocks more charms and gives you those other perks. So you can kind of experiment and change things out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe so we can kind of get a feel for the world. What is the main narrative, the story? What's happening when you first start the game, and what's your objective?
Yeah, so you play as a character called the Knight, not the Hollow Knight. I learned that very quickly. I thought.
Oh, you're not the Hollow Knight?
No, so the Hollow Knight. No. You encounter the Hollow Knight later, but you are not yourself the Hollow Knight. Okay.
Okay.
And so the story is very, very sparse, right? Like, there's no dialogue, right? So it's all animation, this beautiful hand-drawn 2D animation. Like, there'll be a section of this where I talk about, like, the game being made itself, like, as a product, and I'm going to gush and gush and gush about it. But you show up to this city and you meet the mayor of a town called Dirtmouth, and he's like, hey, this area below, is pretty dangerous. But you can kind of go around and explore. A lot of people come to kind of check it out, but I don't really see them ever again. So be careful if you're going to go. And so you don't really understand your motivation. But as you uncover more and more of the map and you come across these like etchings in stone where it gives you like hand bits of lore, like, oh, these bugs were allied with the king this way. But essentially you're just traversing through a kingdom that's been overtaken by this illness and trying to do what you can to heal the kingdom from it. And you uncover more of what that means and what you have to do in order to do that, kind of as the story progresses and as you explore more and more of the world.
So you can... Okay, gotcha. So you're finding out more about this infection, fighting it, The Last of Us Bug Edition.
Yes.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. So, okay. I watched a little bit of gameplay.
Okay.
I was over at my in-laws, and I watched my sister-in-law, Mia, shout out to Mia, play this for a little bit on their TV. And it was interesting. You had this little, like, meter thing, and if you have so much of it, you can, like, take a couple seconds to, like, heal yourself, but then you don't get it replenished unless you fight or something, right? So, like, how's that fighting mechanic work?
Yeah, so as you land hits on enemies, that meter, that little circle in the corner fills up. They call it soul. And soul is used for a couple different ways. You can do that, pause where you kind of like, they call it focusing, where you pause and you have to hold the button, and it takes somewhere from like a second to 3 seconds, because there are charms that you can use to speed it up so that, like, in the middle of a fight you can actually heal more efficiently. But for each of like the big circle, you can heal 3 of your masks, but you might not want to do that because in order to cast spells that you unlock throughout the game, which are really, really good ways to attack, you also need to utilize soul. But yeah, the only way to recover it is to either attack someone, and there are like these little statue things dispersed throughout the map that'll give you a bit. Like, you can just, so like generally
you, like, hit it and it spits it out, right? Yeah. I think
generally, if the rooms are like harder, they have harder enemies, or there's like platforming challenges that are going to deplete your life, they'll put those in there so that you have more of a chance to recover your stuff. But yeah, so that's kind of how soul is.
Okay. Did you like that? That it's like, because it seemed like a cool resource management system that's really simplistic, but you really have to think about it, right?
Yeah, I think I did enjoy it. When I realized that that's how it worked, I got really, really nervous, because it's kind of similar to how certain resources are used in the Ori games. And there were I didn't like it in Ori because I felt like I just wasn't good enough at the game to where I would run out of that so often. It was so hard to game. But I feel like in Hollow Knight, because there's always enemies around, and like you have tougher enemies, sure, but you also have a lot of easy enemies. So like I feel like soul management is something that when the game is supposed to be harder, you'll feel that challenge, but you aren't going to have that frustration all the time. Like it's pretty easy to manage unless you're like, oh, I'm in a boss fight, like this guy's kind of kicking my butt,
Yeah.
and that's when it becomes difficult. But that's, games are supposed to be harder at boss fights, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So I thought it was a really good way to do it, and brought that challenge to the game that you might not have had without that.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, it was intriguing to me because I don't really like, because I'm like a really conservative person when it comes to resources. In a lot of games, I end up just saving and saving and saving, and then I
Yeah.
beat the game and I never used a single potion or something, and where I could have just saved myself from a headache. But I like systems like what's in Hollow Knight because once you're capped out, there's no reason to save, right?
Right.
So like you always kind of want it to be not quite topped off completely so that you have the capacity to replenish more.
Yeah, no.
And I like that aspect of it, that it encourages you to use it.
No, yeah, and that's a really great point. It's something that I saw a lot where like I was like, okay, I remember this room, there's a lot of enemies, use up all that soul so that as I'm hitting and going through, I'm collecting all of that. Or you even get to the point where you're like, okay, I've still got 5 enemies to beat. I'm not worried about beating them, but I don't have like any room for soul. Like, why not make it easier on myself? You unleash a spell, take out 3 of them and then fill your soul off the other 2 and keep going. Like, yeah, I think it allows for a lot of the player to play the way that they want.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very cool. Well, I'm thinking we can rate different sections of the game as we go, since it'll be fresh in our mind as we just talked about it. So how would you rate the gameplay out of 10?
A 7.5.
Okay.
I think it does everything that it wants to do very, very well. Like the only reason that it isn't higher is like it's completely personal preference. Like playing a 2D game, or a side scroller. I just tend to have less of a fun time with the gameplay side of things compared to others.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to side scrollers, I do think it's one of the funnest games that I've played. It's not my natural preference, and there was 1 or 2 points where I was like, the difficulty seems a bit absurd for
A little frustrating at that.
Yeah, like
point.
just a little bit too much, where it's like, okay, this boss took me 30 attempts, like
Ooh, that's a lot of attempts.
like and it's like I would go through 4 or 5 attempts with a certain loadout with my charms and my stuff or a strategy, and then I would try something else, and then I got to the point where I was like looking up and asking other people like, hey, how did you do this, and trying out their strategies. And yeah, it's 100% a skill issue. There are just some bosses that I just never really fully figured out how to do efficiently.
Yeah.
But there were times where it was frustrating enough that it took away from the experience, and I was like, dang, this kind of sucks right now.
That's fair. And I mean, to be like full disclosure, I think it's silly to say, I think all video game ratings are going to be somewhat subjective in nature. I think it's okay to lean into that. We all have personal preferences. There are people going to rate a game 10 out of 10. There are people going to rate it 6 out of 10. So keep that in mind. But I think coming from someone that doesn't generally speaking, really have a great time with combat mechanics and 2D platformers and stuff, a 7.5 out of 10 sounds like a pretty strong number.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're someone that really enjoys this kind of game, you would probably rate it higher.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you talked a little bit about, the ambiance and how the game looks and stuff. Do you want to talk about the overworld?
Yeah. So I'll bring this up now. So this game was made by 3 people. There's 3 of them.
That's
And even for Silksong, there were 3 people that made that game, okay? 3 people. There's one person who does the coding. There's one person who does the animation, and one person who does the music. Okay, so the design of the world itself, right? It's got this beautiful gothic, abandoned feeling to it. The enemy designs, like as you go through different areas, it's like, oh yes, this is the basic type of enemy, but because we're in a more mossy area, you know, the bug that's infected and isn't really caring for itself is covered in moss. That makes sense. Or we go to what used to be like the capital city, and these bugs are a lot more refined and have like more like armor and stuff. So like the enemy design works so well. And yeah, I mean, just like it's so incredible to like go through these different sections, right, and to have them feel distinct but so interconnected and have it make sense. And it's like the world building is phenomenal for a game that does so little to like hand feed you, oh, this is why the world is the way that it is, this is what happened. Like you feel and gain so much throughout it. It's very good. I like it a lot.
Wow. So it sounds like it really feels like a live world with really good attention to detail and everything.
Yeah, because areas change throughout the game. There's
okay.
I won't go into details of when or what or why, but there's a point in the game where something happens. You as a character do something, and then if you go back to an area, like it's drastically different. And so I think it's that aspect. Like as you go throughout these areas, you kind of recover insects, other bugs from the area that'll then go up to Dirtmouth, which is kind of like your hub where you go for shops and stuff. And they'll show up there and be living their life, and you can check in with them. And it's just, yeah, it's very, it's not a static world, right? It's always moving along with you as the player.
By the way, you mentioned shops. What kind of things are you buying? What kind of consumables and...
Yeah, so you can buy charms. Charms is the big one. You can buy a couple of like mask shards that come together to give you more masks, more hearts. Same thing with, so you start with the one soul vessel, right? But you can get upgrades that give you extra little balls, so you can collect more soul without having to use it, and they'll hold on to it for you.
Okay.
You can buy stuff like that. Sword upgrades at one point, and maps. So at each section that you go into, you don't have a map anymore, and you have to find a guy who sings a catchy little song. He's the best. His song is amazing. But you find this guy, and you pay for the map. But if you go through a section and for whatever reason you just don't go into the room and you don't find him, but then you go back to Dirtmouth, he has his wife who runs a shop there who will then sell you the maps there, so you don't have to navigate through the area without a map again to find him. So yeah, stuff like that.
Okay, cool. So how would you rate the overworld, considering how it looks, the art, everything, and also the way how you traverse it? I don't know if there's fast travel.
There's unlockable fast travel.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna say 9.5.
Okay. That's really good.
I think it's nearly perfect. Like as far as the world building itself, the only problem I have with it is because it's so big. Depending on what you're doing for back traveling, and depending on how many times you've had to go back to a certain area, there were times where I found myself being like, man, I really wish I didn't have to fight through these 6 rooms again for the next time, when because fast travel is limited, and it's intentional, right? Like they want you to have that type of experience, but considering how big it is and how long the game can be depending on what you do, it was a detraction just a couple of times. But that's the only downside to it. Like the actual world building itself, the design of it, how it all connects together, it's almost perfect.
So if it weren't for that minor little thing you didn't like,
if there were more fast travel spots or less required backtracking at certain points of the game, it would be a 10.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. How's the music?
Oh, the music's so good, man. It's it's small, right? Like it's an indie game and it's not these grandiose soundtracks, but like it fits so well. And the boss fights, right, when that music comes up, it's great. There's one area, I don't feel like this is a spoiler because it's like the third or fourth out of however many there are, like 16 or 17 areas, so I don't feel like it's that big. City of Tears is a fantastic track. The final boss fight soundtrack is incredible. And going along with the soundtrack itself, the noises that like the different characters make are so good. I'm sure you've seen Silk Song memes where you see Hornet, so the one in the red cloak, right? So the main character of that game, right? She's someone that you encounter a couple times throughout this first game.
Okay.
And her vocal bites are prime stuff. Like I'll see those memes and it fills me with so much joy. But it's like that for every character. Like when you got Map Guy singing his song, or the different, Mayor Bug, it like has this little grumpy voice. It just is so good. The sound design in this game is top tier. Top tier stuff, man.
10.
It's a 10 out of 10 on that front.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think sound design is so important, including music, but also like the sounds your character makes, the sound that you hear when you do an attack. Like all those things are really important to convey, to one, build a world that's believable, but also to give you enough feedback and satisfaction. And like all of those things are really important and intertwined, and it sounds like it really hits it on the spot.
I love that you brought that up because I feel like there are games that have serviceable, sound design in that way. And like when you're going through those games, right, you're like, yeah, it's good, right? And like you don't really notice that it's not like on another level, but then when you play a game that does have one that just really vibes with you, it stands out and you're like, wow, this is incredible. So it's not like a make or break thing, but when it's there, it just elevates it so well.
A couple of minor things that come to my mind immediately that are really good examples of it are like, for those of you that have played Star Wars Battlefront 2, the little ka-ching sound effect that you get when you defeat an enemy with the little visual cue, incredible. Aged so well. Or like in Super Smash Brothers when you get a spike, that sound effect, or the little splash screen you get, like all those things give you those dopamine hits that you really didn't know you wanted until you got it.
And it's crazy just how much of a dopamine hit gets you, right? Where
it really does. It really does. Yeah, it's incredible. Okay, cool. We talked a little bit about the story. How would you rate that? I don't know if there's any more you want to say on it, because I know you don't want to spoil it, but...
Yeah, no, that's a great question.
Because you also haven't got... So you said there's multiple endings.
Yeah, depending on a couple things, like depending on a couple unlockables that you can get, depending on certain ways that you handle the final boss fight, like you can have different endings. No, I think the story, this game is a lot sadder than I thought it was going to be. I'm trying to decide okay, so I don't feel like this is like a major story spoiler because it's completely missable. So I'm going to share it, okay? So spoilers for a game that's almost 10 years old, right? Like it's been out for a while.
Yeah.
And if you really don't want to know, we'll go ahead and put a timestamp on and you can skip ahead, a minute or two. One area is like this Crystal Mountain region. And you can come across a bug NPC. She's just a little miner girl, and she sings a little song. And because as you go through the game, your legend kind of increases among the townspeople, like she's singing about you without knowing that it's you, right? She sings this little song about you, and you're going through. And then you go off, do some other stuff. And if you go back after a certain point in the story, you'll see that she's become infected with the stuff that you're trying to stop. And she won't like outright attack you, but you can see like the way that they kind of distinguish it is the bugs that aren't infected just have black eyes, and then the enemies have these little orange dots, right? Because the infection's orange and stuff. and she just is like standing there. She's not singing her song anymore. You can't interact with her. And like there's just like these little moments like that throughout the game where if you really want to, like there's so much that you affect and go through. But at the same time, like the story does kind of take a backseat to everything else because, you know, the game's known for its art style and it's known for having a great soundtrack, and it really is a gameplay first game. So for people that love this type of gameplay, you know, it's going to knock out of the park for them. So it's not, I feel like when you have these types of games where you can miss so much of the story, like it's hard to say that the story is like incredible, right? Because it's not really what you're supposed to be focusing on. Right. But for someone like me, it is. So with that in mind, I would still give it like an 8.5. Like I think it hits all the right points, and if it was just more of like a centralized focus of the developers and saying we want you to experience this in the story, it would be even higher. But it yeah, it does things, man. It does things to you.
Dang,
it's an experience.
Okay, wow, that sounds really depressing.
It's but it's so worth it in the end. Like I promise, it's one of those games. Yeah.
Well, but it's those kinds of like, you know, hits of reality, right, that I think make a story impactful, and without that, it wouldn't really be anything to write home about. So, you know, I appreciate things like that. Okay. All right. Well, we talked about the story. We talked about the gameplay. We talked about the music, the overworld. Am I missing anything?
No, I don't think so.
Were there like particular moments you wanted to talk about, or that was a notable one you just brought up? But...
Yeah. In the so in the final boss, right? There's a point where you get help from, and again, like I don't. If you really like, if you're worried about spoilers, you probably shouldn't be watching this episode. But there's a point where Hornet comes to help you in the final boss, right? She's doing something and she kind of restrains him for a moment. And I didn't follow through with it. I know what happens if you handle this moment differently, and I didn't because I was not prepared for the difficulty spike that comes with it. But she literally she says a sound bite that sounds like "get good," because that's where you go into like the true final boss, and it's like insanely difficult, right? Yeah. So there's just like little moments like that. I going to City of Tears for the first time, like it's a city that's underground, but it's perpetually raining, and the score just comes in and hits, and as you're going there, you come across the statue, and it goes into one of these beautiful hand-drawn cutscenes. And the ending, that final boss fight and the resolution and how it kind of concludes is a killer. And any of the frustrations that I had with the difficulty or parts where the gameplay felt stagnant, like I don't really care about those anymore. Like the ending was worth all of it. Yeah, so I think as far as moments, that's the only other thing I want to highlight. And I want to talk about the sequel for a second, but before I do that, do you have any other questions?
My only other question is, what would be your overall
rating? I think depending on the day you ask me, it would hover between that 8.5 to 9. Okay, where it's not quite perfect, right? Well, it wasn't quite perfect for me. I can imagine a certain type of gamer where this would be like their perfect game.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
like everything they want.
Right.
And for me, like depending on, right now I'm remembering more of the frustrating parts, or I'm remembering just how high some of these highs were, it would kind of hover between that range. And I hope that to our listeners, you kind of realize like that I do really enjoy this game. Like right now, I mean, and I was telling SJ this, like part of the reason that I'm pushing through Tales of Arise so much right now is like, I don't want our end of year awards to kind of be swept by one game. And like Hollow Knight's currently standing up there where like, if we had to do the awards today, like it would
It would win a lot.
it would win a lot of stuff from me. Like I
Yeah.
really, really enjoyed my time with it.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, looking at Silksong, I'm not planning on playing it anytime soon. There's a couple reasons for that. One, the emotional high of this game, I need some space from it, right? Like I need something that's not as affecting. And I'll be completely honest, 100% a skill issue. Like the difficulty of Silksong scares me.
Is it supposed to be harder?
So the only criticism that I've heard of this game is that the difficulty is too much in some cases. And Hollow Knight's not an easy game, right? Like even if you're just doing the main stuff, like there's a learning curve with it. It's like a Jedi Survivor, right? Where if you die, in order to get all your resources back, like your currency and stuff, you have to go back to where you died and you fight a little mini. In Jedi, right, you just have to hit the guy, but in this one, it's like a 2-hit enemy that pops up and you just have to kill them and then you get all your resources back, right? Like it's tricky. Like I died a lot. But Silksong is supposed to be like infinitely harder in like every way. Like when it comes to the combat, it's harder. The platforming's a lot trickier. And I've seen, just little snippets of gameplay where like the stretches of like near perfect platforming that you have to do. Like I don't have the skill set for it right now. And I don't have the consistency and free time to be able to play a game like that and develop the skills needed to succeed,
Yeah.
Like, if I'm ever going to play that game, I need to have, like, okay, I'm going to be able to play this for consistently every day for a decent amount of time in order to make that happen. But I love everything that game represents. I love how successful it's been. I love that it's still such a small team of people. I love how passionate it is. I love the price point that they charged for and that they felt like they couldn't, because they originally, back when they announced it 6 years ago, were like, we're going to charge $20 for it again, just like the first game. And even with, all the inflation that we've experienced and the amount of extra time they had to spend on it, they're like, well, we committed to doing this for our fans. We're going to follow through on it. Like just and from what I've heard, so many people saying that it's such an improvement on the first game in every way for a game that I already really, really enjoyed. Like I will play it at some point. Just not right now.
Yeah. At the right time. All right. Well, thank you. Was there something else you want to talk about?
I think that's it.
Is that it?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Alex. That is really cool to hear. I've only ever heard good things about this game, and I personally have never played it because I know that it's not for me.
Right, the 2D
Metroidvanias just aren't for me. But I have a greater appreciation for it now after hearing all of this. So all of you, please go check it out if you'd be interested. If you've already played it, let us know your thoughts about it in the comments below or in our Discord group. It'd be pretty cool to hear, what other people's experiences have been with that. Because I think most people that were interested in a game like this, you've probably already played it by now if you're that kind of person.
Yeah, especially with Silksong having released. Like that's why I bought the first game. Is like Silksong came out and it was rave reviews, and I was like, well, I can't play that if I haven't played this.
Yeah, awesome. Let's see if you have anything else to say while I pull up our thing.
Yeah,
here.
I think one thing that I guess I could have said that I didn't is I feel like this is the strength of games that are priced at this point where I bought Hollow Knight on at full price. And $20, like I think I totally understand when people buy, more traditionally priced games, right, at that 60, 70, or 80 time slot and aren't satisfied. I can understand the frustration, but I feel like paying $20 for a game, like, gives you kind of that freedom to, like, really try. And even if it isn't your thing, Like, it's not like a huge waste.
Yeah, you're not dropping
right?
$60, $70, $80.
So, like, I feel like for those of you, because where I am, right, like, in order for me to buy a full price game, like, I have to be like, yes, this is going to be my thing. I'm going to like it.
Yeah.
But I feel like if that's how you are as a consumer as well, don't feel that way about these particular games, because I think you can jump in and get enough out of it where even if it isn't your main jam, there's enough in there to appreciate and encourage. So I guess, yeah, that might be one of my main messages is any interest at all, this is the type of game to try out and just dive into, even if that's a concern, I guess.
That's true. Yeah, no, very, very good point. Very good point. Big thanks to our Patreon supporters, one of whom is a new one.
New supporter.
I'll start from the top. We have our Down Earth Cockatiels, Joshua, Tyler, and Matthew. Thank you very much. And then we also have our Down Earth Parakeets, Jay Maurer, Nicholas, Noah, and newly Qualthorn. Thank you very much, Qualthorn. He is one of our very active supporters in Discord. So if you would like to join us, like I said twice already, join us in the Discord. It is a good time.
It is a good time. But for now, we'll leave it there. We love you all very much. Thank you.
Talk to you next time.